Welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Chatham Township Committee. Mr. LaConte, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 8th, 2021 and June 11th, 2021. Notice was posted on the bulletin board, the main hall of the municipal building, and on the front door of the municipal building on January 8th, 2021 and June 11th, 2021. And notice was filed with the Township Clerk on June 8th and January 11th and January 8th and June 11th, 2021. Also posted on the website, and the agenda was posted on the website and the front door.
Wonderful, thank you. Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Felice?
Here.
Mrs. Fanaco?
Here.
Mr. Hamilton?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Abbott?
Here.
And Mayor Renaud?
Here.
We have quorum.
Great. So the purpose of the 6:30 start is to go into executive session, and we will return at 7:30 for the public session. Mr. LaConte, can you read that resolution going into executive session?
Resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded, whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. Public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Litigation, Township of Chatham versus Curtis Holdings, LLC, and SL Chatham 2, LLC, condemnation action docket, MRSL 78921. Litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15. The contract negotiations, Walters Cornerstone Development LLC, personnel, police, personnel, public works, and potential litigation. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event, when appropriate, pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13, committee will come back in a regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can I have a motion to take us into executive session?
So
Second. I'll let you decide who's first.
Whatever. I have Mark first and Ashley second.
Okay, can we get a vote, please?
Mrs. Felice?
Yes.
Mrs. Fanaco?
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
yes.
Deputy Mayor Abbott?
Yes.
And Mayor Wald?
Yes.
Motion passes. If everyone can jump into the session. Okay.
people watching on Comcast.
If you want to repeat that for the record.
Okay, I will repeat that for the record. Welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Chatham Township Committee. We are returning from executive session into the public session. Mr. LeConte has already verified that we have given adequate notice of this meeting. Unfortunately, our friends who are on Verizon, who are watching on Verizon Cable, the link is not working right now. So if you know anybody or if you see any messaging, please let those folks know that they should join us on Zoom. Okay, can I ask? Sure your microphone's on. Thank you. Can I ask everybody to stand for the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so the first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next up is the mayor's message. I had hoped our days of COVID updates were behind us, but unfortunately, given the increase nationally and within New Jersey of the Delta variant cases, I thought it was important to make sure residents are informed and have up-to-date information. As reported by our Board of Health Officer, Mike Fitzpatrick, variant testing across the state has seen a large increase in Delta cases over the past few weeks. Delta now represents over 90% of variants identified. There have been breakthrough COVID-19 cases, breakthrough that is cases among fully vaccinated individuals, throughout all counties in New Jersey. Fortunately, the vaccines available in the United States are extremely effective in preventing serious illness, hospitalization, and death. The latest information from the CDC indicates that the vaccines remain highly effective against currently circulating variants. Vaccination is still the most important tool in reducing the spread of COVID-19 and is recommended for all individuals over age 12, including those who have recovered from previous COVID-19 infection. As of yesterday, the COVID-19 dashboard showed Chatham Township's vaccination rate at over 88% for adults ages 18 and over, 95% for ages 65 and over, and 72% for all ages. If you have not gotten your vaccine, you can find information on how to get the vaccine at covid19.nj.gov. Although most of New Jersey has a moderate COVID activity level index or a CALI score, the state of New Jersey is recommending that both vaccinated and unvaccinated residents wear masks in indoor settings when there is an increased risk, such as crowded indoor settings and indoor settings involving close contact with others who may not be fully vaccinated. Although our vaccination rates are high, we recognize that Chatham Township residents have been traveling, and even when traveling within New Jersey to nearby towns, some areas do not have the same level of vaccination. We accordingly are requesting our residents to wear a mask at our Township Committee meetings to continue to mitigate further spread. Please feel free to pull down your mask when you come to the podium to speak. I also wanted to provide an update on the affordable housing development at 522 Southern Boulevard. I am pleased to announce the Township closed today on the bond sale financing for 522 Southern Boulevard. The funds will be deposited in escrow with the courts, and we are anticipating to have full control of the property as quickly as possible. This is the final condition in securing a judgment of compliance for our round 3 affordable housing obligation. Once the payment is made into the court, we will petition the court to change our current conditional judgment to a judgment of compliance. During August, the developer for 522 Southern Boulevard received planning board approval for their preliminary site plans and is working on submitting their application for 9% low-income housing tax credit, LIHTC financing for the project. The LIHTC application is due on August 31st. Should we not achieve 9% tax credit financing, we are prepared to take next steps to ensure the project moves forward towards successful completion. Okay, let's move on to reports. Committee Woman, please.
Yes, Colony Pool, we started August memberships, so it's not too late to still join. There's still time to enjoy the pool, the tennis, the recreation. You can sign up for August family memberships for reduced rate. For Chatham Township members, it's $295, and for the non-resident, it's $345, and it can be done on Community Pass. And that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Hamilton?
It's the summer months, not too much to report of a substantive nature. The library remains open, and everything's going well there. As far as the board, the school district of the Chathams, just an update on that because school's starting up soon. Again, people, parents particularly, are following that closely, and the information is available on the website about school opening, but school will be open, just to make sure everybody knows, in person, full time, full capacity. Obviously, there is a hot button issue in the state regarding mask wearing, but I think it's important that residents of the community understand that despite the support for one way or the other, that is no longer an issue for the school districts of Chatham's board to make that decision. It has already been made for them by the governor at this point. So, just, understand and appreciate that when dealing, or if you happen to see one of the school board members out and about, that making that call about masks is not their call. It's my understanding that, over 500 parents signed a letter to the school district, asking to be allowed the option to make that choice for their children, on their own, as opposed to the state mandate. But that message was received, but it's something that is out of the district's hands due to the mandate from the governor. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. That's pretty much it for me. Oh, and the Business Advisory Committee, I understand, Mayor, you have been working with them to get some letters out, with the official, encouragement from the mayor for local businesses to participate. So that process of enrolling local businesses for the directory remains ongoing.
So I hope local businesses will take advantage and sign up for the website, the directory. And also, I believe there is a link to the survey to get their input on what they're looking for as well. That's right. Mrs. Fondaco.
Okay, I have a lot to talk about tonight. First of all, the Historical Society is planning to reopen the Red Brick Schoolhouse Museum to visitors on Sunday, September 5th from 2 to 4 p.m. And then the following week on Saturday, September 18th, the museum will be part of a National Smithsonian Magazine Museum Day and will be open from 10 to 4. The Diversity Committee met last night, and they're very excited about introducing themselves to the community. They'll be at the Fishwack Festival on Saturday, the 25th of September, to pass out pamphlets to introduce themselves and their planned upcoming events. Now, I've got this, well, anyway, before that, the Community Garden and the Chatham Girl Scouts have contributed 50 pounds of produce this month to the Chatham Methodist Church Food Pantry. They plan to keep harvesting and contributing through the early fall. Just one more reason to love our community garden and our scouts. Now, Jessica is putting out a cooler on Tuesday at 11 o'clock for any of the gardeners to put in their extra bounty to donate to the food bank. Now, she also, I was blocking myself. And then Jessica wrote up this nice little thing about what the Chatham Township Environmental Committee is doing. So I'll just read it for you. We are hosting a guided walk of the Drew University Forest Preserve with Judy Kroll, a member of the Friends of Drew Forest Steering Committee, in early September. Be on the lookout for a sign up. We'll be limited to a group of 15. So can do a second walk if residents are interested afterwards. The Drew University Forest Preserve in Madison is 53 acres of unusually contiguous national natural forest, a biodiversity hotspot because of its diversity and extent, and because of 12 years of successful forest restoration on much of the preserve's acreage. The preserve is one of the only forests in the county with a native understory where beech and sassafras seedlings thrive, where pollinators and other insects survive along with the birds that depend upon them. With its biodiversity and natural complexity, this intact woodland also serves as a major educational and research resource with great value to the entire community. Now, the second townwide garage sale is coming up. Chatham Borough and Madison will also be participating. And so you can mark your calendars for September 25th. There's more information on the sign up details to come. It's a great way to clean out your closets and garage while being green and keeping items out of the landfill. This is a benefit for the Great Swamp Watershed, a wonderful partner to Chatham Township. Many residents have seen, oh, on another note here, many residents have seen the spotted lanternfly around this week. The New Jersey Department of Agriculture has a whole dedicated website, which has been posted on the Environmental Commission's Facebook page. Please, as Jessica says, please squish and report the lanternfly sightings to the Department of Agriculture. Today, the Colony Butterfly Garden became an official monarch way station. Jessica Romeo and Marta McDowell installed the garden in the spring. If anyone would like to help out with it, you can get in touch with Jessica. And from Maureen Kelly, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about, but it's a wonderful thing. The township has received approval from the state for grants to install EV charging stations at the lower level of the municipal building, Nash Field and Shunpike Field. The grants will cover a substantial portion of the costs involved. Once paperwork is completed, we hope these charging stations can be installed as quickly as possible. I'm done.
Deputy Mayor.
So since it's summer, it is quiet, and it's only my second meeting. I'm reaching out to the senior center since I'm the new liaison, and I have reached out to the head of the rec advisory committee. But again, there's nothing really to report. And also am I on the planning board should I report on the planning board still? Or?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So as many people probably know, at the planning board meeting a week ago, the planning board approved unanimously the affordable housing application at 522 Southern Boulevard. And the resolution is up for approval on Monday. And also, should I be going over anything else in the planning board? I mean, there's another application, minor subdivision at 15 Gates Avenue that will be, the hearing will continue for that on Monday.
Okay. Thank you. I guess I'm up next. My committees have been busy, but there really isn't anything to update at this point. So I'll move on to Mr. McConte.
The two reports that I have, one is elections related. Elections for November will still be normal in-person elections like we had for the primary, but something that the county is also doing this fall. I've gone over the early voting. I don't have any updates on that. But for those who decide they want to do mail-in ballots, the county is going to be installing in every municipality those drop boxes like what we had in Madison. So at some point in September, we should have one outside by our front door to the municipal building for anyone that wants to vote by mail and drop it off in a drop box rather than send it through the mail. My other update, you touched on COVID cases. The report that came from the health officer this afternoon at around 1:30 this afternoon is that we currently do not have any active cases in Chatham Township, which is a good sign.
Wonderful. Thank you. so I have two. Mr. Rushke.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor, other than the affordable housing issues that or items that you already expressed.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A few things to report. The first item that I'd like to report on or to ask the governing body to consider today is that I would like that to hold the ordinance for introduction for amending chapter 30, it's ordinance 2021-19. And the reason is late this afternoon, we found two resolutions from 1981 and a site plan from 1997. And we just want to make sure that we vet them, that this is for our fire departments and emergency squads. We want to make sure that the changes in the wording that we have don't negatively impact anything that was already adopted by past township or past planning board resolutions. So we're just asking that we wait for 2 weeks so that we can check and make sure that there's nothing that's in this ordinance that would be contrary to what we should be doing.
Okay, so we're taking out
the introduction of ordinance 2021-19. That way we would ask for that be introduced in 2 weeks so that we can just find this out. But this is one more example of what's good about operation organization, because we were able to find something from
what, 40 years ago? Wish we found it yesterday, but we found it, so that's good.
Wow.
So thank you. All right. Then one of the other things that's working fairly well, or actually very well, is that we are returning house plans to residents. We have gone through we're going through our files, and we have over 1,000 sets of plans that we are willing to return to residents. The house plans have to be over 10 years old, so there's letters that have been going out to residents. If they bring the letter in, they sign it, we know exactly where the plans are, we go get them, we give them the plans, they give us the letter, the signed letter that goes into the file, and residents receive plans for their house that are sealed, and we also are making more space so that we don't have to going forward, we don't have to scan these plans in or save them in paper files. So that seems to be working very well. On the agenda for tonight also is Resolution 2021-220, which authorizes the township to assist the Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department in preparing for an open house that will be on Saturday, October 9th. That is basically the closing of Fire Prevention Week. The Green Village Fire Department usually hosts an opening house at the beginning of the week, which is probably October 3rd. And then the Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department hosts an open house at the closing. But the Chatham Township Fire Department will be coming out with an advertising campaign in September. So this will allow us to help them do what they need to do so that they can have a successful open house. And ultimately, they would like people to come visit, see the equipment, and if they are able to join their volunteer fire department or the Green Village Fire Department, just in the future. But this way it helps connect them to our residents. And under discussion tonight, under the discussion section tonight is a draft ordinance about bamboo and Japanese knotweed. We are having an increasing problem with bamboo in the township, or it seems to be an increasing problem. This is something that we started to address in 2019, towards the end of 2019, and there had been discussions with the Environmental Committee or Commission about invasive species, and it was just time to bring it forward. So no action would be required tonight, but we just wanted to bring this forward, and we will introduce that in September. And thank you. That's my report.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to open up to the hearing of citizens. I just need to read some guidelines. Meeting access is guided by the state of emergency and the related governor's executive orders. At this time, the committee meeting room is open to the public, and we look forward to having you join us at your convenience. Under the executive orders, this meeting is also being made available for public participation remotely. If you are watching via cable TV on Comcast Channel 29, or hopefully if FiOS Channel 26 is up, you can participate in the public comment sessions of this meeting by dialing any of the phone numbers which are listed on the agenda and which will be shown on your TV screen when we get to the public comment sessions. Then dial *9 to raise your hand. If you are watching via Zoom, you may speak during any of the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you are recognized to speak, please mind the following procedures. Please say your names, spell your last name, and give the name of your street. You do not need to give your street number. All public comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, we will wait until you finish speaking before responding. We have 2 public comment sessions on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment of up to 5 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments. Duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full according to the guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. Ms. LeConte, do we have any written comments that were submitted? No. Okay, thank you. So we'll open it up first to everybody in person if anybody wants to come up and speak.
Thanks, what?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, my name is Peter Tripp, Van Houten Avenue, and I'm attending this meeting to provide my support for the ordinance to control the planting and prevent the spread of existing bamboo and Japanese knotwood. I was hoping just to take a minute just to talk a little bit about my experience dealing with bamboo. I've been in the town for about 10 years. We moved in, and over the course of the last 8 years, we have gone through 3 significant efforts to remove bamboo from our property. Our neighbor behind us has bamboo. That's person that is behind us to our rear backyard, and that bamboo has encroached on our land, and we have every year for the past 8 years done something to try to remove the bamboo from our property. So we've hired landscapers to do this. Those are the 3 significant attempts. They brought in heavy equipment to literally remove this bamboo. It was an excavator. We did it as a part of basically a backyard renovation. We did the renovation 2 years later. The bamboo actually had come back, and we're talking about an area that's about 1,500 square feet. It's encroached on my property somewhere around the neighborhood of like 20 feet inboard. We dug a trench to remove the roots. We did it a 3rd time, same thing. Went back to the trench to excavate out the roots. And then since then, I'm basically doing it myself. So over the course of this time period, I spent thousands of dollars trying to keep this plant out of my property. I don't know what's customary here, but I did bring some photographs. I brought a survey just so you could understand the extent of, where this bamboo is and how it's coming into our property. Is it something that I could hand off? I actually made several copies, so there are 4 in there if people want to take a look at them.
I think only if it's planted.
So again, I don't know how familiar people are with bamboo, but it's incredibly invasive. It's very durable, and it's very hard to get rid of. My efforts to do it manually don't work out very well, but I've spent many weekends just trying to use a spade and a shovel, just clipping away at the roots and excavating them. If you look at those photographs, you're going to see the survey. The red kind of clouded area is approximately where the bamboo is now. So it's on 4 properties, including my own. The blue is the area that I keep having to maintain. That area actually overlaps the town's sewer easement. So when we first moved in, that easement was completely covered with bamboo. Once we removed it, we actually exposed a manhole, which is an access to the sewer. And I've maintained it for every year for the past 8 years, but it's just become just an unbelievable burden for me. Public Works comes to our house, or they have for the 2 times over the past 4 years. They access this easement from our property because we maintain it, and they go to the property adjacent to ours, basically to cut a corridor through this bamboo in order to expose the easement. So when you look at some of those photos, the first and the second one are basically looking toward my neighbor, and you can see in the photo how far up their property the bamboo comes. That's sort of a benchmark for where the bamboo used to be on my property. And again, I keep cutting it back. There's some other photos. I think there are 2 subsequent pages which show some dates on, some recent dates of me having manually removed this stuff. Most recently was this spring in May. I basically dug up the trench again, cut out the bamboo, and August 2nd, that was in May. August 2nd, I took photos again. The bamboo had already come back 7-8 feet. And there's a photo in there of one of the rhizomes. So the biggest problem with the bamboo is below grade. It's the roots. They're just, and you'll see in the photographs, they're enormous, and they can penetrate really anything. And then in addition to that, though, the bamboo grows, you know, in a matter of a week, the bamboo, you'll notice the change. It could be approximately a foot. It'll grow up to about 20 feet, and you can see that in the photographs. So in addition to what's happening below grade, it's leaning over into my property. You know, I clip it, I try to prune it back, but I can't get rid of it. So I have to hire a landscaper to come dispose of it. So that's another $500, you know, every year to do it. So the bottom line is that, you know, there's a financial burden here, there's an enormous time commitment, and all I'm trying to do is just prevent this from destroying my property.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp.
All right, thank you.
So just to let you know how this works, this is up for discussion today, but then if the committee is interested in pursuing the ordinance, it would be put on agenda. It is introduced. There's some discussion with the committee, and then at another date, there is a public hearing. So there is an opportunity to get more input from the public, from the community again.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe I overshared on that one, but anyways.
No, we were happy to have you here and to learn, but feel free to come back again.
Okay, thank you.
And just to note, because this would wind up being a land use ordinance, it would go for the planning board's review as well?
Okay, so we'd go, so.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm confusing myself. That was the other one. Yeah, this would be under police powers. I'm sorry.
Chapter 3. This is chapter 3, so it's.
Yeah, I apologize.
Okay.
No problem.
Did you give us a potential ordinance?
Yes, there's a potential ordinance.
The packet that I grabbed tonight, that should be at the end.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah. And for informational purposes, I've had to deal with this in other communities. I was, some streets in 2 other communities had been uprooted, I guess that's the proper word, by bamboo. And then I was asked to come to a resident's house, and I saw bamboo coming through the cinder block walls in their foundation. So it, you know, it's very, once it gets going, it just keeps coming.
I know this is on discussion item, but we're just discussing now. Is there like specific pockets around town where this is popping up?
There's, I believe there's 3 pockets. The DPW has this on a 2-year cycle, but there's the corner of, is it River Road, and where it's been growing, and they have to keep going there and cutting it back, and then I forget where the 3rd area is.
There was one pocket on River Road. I think it's been largely mitigated, but over by, not far from the Cardinal Hill Apartments, there was a pocket over there that kept going out into the street.
And this isn't a sanitary sewer. I know this, we're not discussing the whole thing now, but it's in a sanitary sewer easement. Is it penetrating the sanitary sewer? That's what it says, sanitary sewer on this little.
May I?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, that's the sanitary easement. So the way I understand it, my property and everybody that's in line with me, since the Highlands are on a slope, the sewer evacuates to that horizontal, that easement, and then, goes wherever it goes. I don't know if it's penetrated the infrastructure itself, but like I said, we did uncover, and you can see it in the photographs, the manhole, which is one way to access it. So my understanding, and having seen the equipment, remove the bamboo, it can go 3 feet down easily. I think it's more towards the surface now, but it would not surprise me if it has somehow infiltrated the vertical element, which leads to the manhole. So I'm not really sure if there's a way, unless you explored it, to know, has the infrastructure been damaged or not.
Literally, it could be the smell that you would have noticed, maybe.
That's true. I mean, I don't, there's nothing that's telling me.
It's obstructing flow of sewage.
Yeah, I mean, I have no evidence of that, but it's certainly coming across where that easement is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have anybody on Zoom with their hand raised?
We do not.
Okay, called in, dialed in, where would we see that?
That would be on Zoom as well.
Okay. Okay. Seeing no one else coming up for the hearing, I will close the hearing of citizens. And we will move on to, well, we're skipping introduction of ordinances. So we will move on to the consent agenda. Ms. Lurkande, can you read the consent agenda, please?
Just turn on my camera. This evening we have Resolution 2021-208, payment of bills. 2021-209, receipt of reports. 2029-210, approving meeting minutes. 2021-211, approving executive session minutes. 2021-212, amending bylaws. 2021-213, amending annual notice. 2021-214, acceptance of state funds for body cam reimbursement. 2021-215, authorizing co-location agreement with Dish Network. 2021-216, auction of surplus equipment. 2021-217, authorizing municipal alliance grant application. 2021-218, Safe Routes to School Shunpike sidewalk resolution. 2021-219, authorizing conditional offer of employment. 2021-220, authorizing Chatham Township Fire Department Oktoberfest event, which is the open house that was mentioned before. 221, authorizing purchase of DPW vehicle. And Resolution 221-222, endorsing Treatment Works application of Sterling Sun at Chatham LLC for Hillside Avenue subdivision.
Great, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote?
Mrs. Felice?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Abbott?
Yes.
And Mayor Ewald?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to move on to the non-consented agenda, Resolution 2021-223. Mr. LaConte, when you're ready.
Yeah, this is a resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham approving fireworks display for Fairmount Country Club.
Do we need a description?
Basically, they're planning to have fireworks on September 6th, and a fireworks display requires the approval of the governing body, and because this didn't come to our attention until yesterday, that's why it's on the non-consent agenda, because we didn't have it available on Tuesday.
Okay, and they do it every year, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's their Labor Day event.
So September 6th, when you see that, when you hear noise and see sparkles up in the sky, you know where that's coming from.
And the fire official has been working with them on this as well.
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-223?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we need any discussion?
Everybody likes fire.
Okay. Then I will go for a roll call vote.
Mrs. Felice? Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Abbott?
Yes.
And Mary Wold?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. More happy news. Resolution 2021-224.
This is a resolution of the Township Committee supporting the grant application submitted by the Trust for Public Lands to acquire Block 48.16, lots 121 and 122.
Mr. Hoffman, did you want to give a brief explanation?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is something, there was an application review of the Trust for Public Lands application for grant funding with Morris County. This is to purchase the Fensky property, and the application was deemed incomplete without having a supporting resolution from the Township Committee. And the deadline to deem the application complete is tomorrow, Friday the 13th. So it was very fortuitous that we had this application review yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
So just to remind the committee and any of the members of the public that are interested, the presentation, Mr. Sage?
It was Mr. Soha, and it was the presentation was made at the July 15th Township Committee meeting here, and where it was the consensus of the Township Committee that it would be appropriate for for this private group to submit the application, and their application was to purchase the property and either to donate it to the County of Morris or the Township of Chatham once it was completed.
Great, thank you. Do I have a resolution to adopt? Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-224? So we'll take that as a first and a second. Deputy Mayor is first and Celeste is second. Any discussion? Okay, then I'll take a roll call vote.
Mrs. Felice?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Abbott?
Yes.
And Mary Wold?
Yes.
Motion passes.
We are moving through nice and smoothly. So we are going to go on to the discussion of the bamboo ordinance, which I think we've heard a lot, but yeah. So I guess the ask is whether or not we want to properly introduce this as an ordinance next time?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this, that is the ask. The ordinance is here. This is an ordinance that basically would go into Chapter 3, which is, I guess I would call it police. This would be how to monitor and enforce our bamboo ordinance. People would be able to have bamboo on their property, but it has to stay on their property. And it's also there had been a discussion with the Environmental Commission, and they were looking at other invasive species, and that's why the Japanese knotwood was included. That had been a request of the Environmental Commission for that. So the Township Committee does have a copy of this agenda, and it talks about that if bamboo is there, it can stay so long as it stays on people's property, so that it doesn't go onto the public right of way, or it doesn't go onto your neighbor's property. And then there is a section that outlines the actions that the township can take to make sure that it doesn't go onto municipal property or onto your neighbor's property and cause damage. And then one of the other sections of this is that if we have to take corrective actions, there's a listing of penalties, and then the township can move to recoup the costs for enforcement if we had to. But this is just something Mr. Tripp, I believe the gentleman's name was. He articulated some of the issues that are starting to accelerate here, but are happening in other communities as well. So the Township Committee will has the opportunity to look at this, and we will ask if, over the next couple weeks, if you have any questions, please, contact myself or Greg. And then if it's the consensus of the Township Committee, we would like to introduce this as an ordinance in September.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions?
And if I could I just take a look? Could we have a copy of whatever Mr. Tripp handed out so we could keep it for the record? And it'd be interesting to see what kind of damage is happening to it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So we're just introducing this, obviously.
No, we're just talking about it now, but it would be introduced in September after you've had the opportunity to review it. If there's no comment, we will bring it forth in September and introduce this as introduce it and then ask for a public hearing probably in October on it.
Yeah, you did say the Environmental Commission. Did they recommend it, or did you talk to them?
I had spoken with them back in 2019 about this.
Okay.
And then one of the Environmental Commission members sent me an email with a friendly reminder saying, basically, don't forget the Japanese knotwood. So I was like, okay. But over the next couple of weeks, we will close the loop with them, and we'll send them a copy of this as well. But in 2019, based on my notes, they were in favor of this.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I know you said you had been involved with bamboo before in other municipalities, but are you familiar with an ordinance akin to this?
Yes.
Being in effect in other municipalities?
Yes. This one.
Yeah, this one is based on the one from Emerson.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is preliminary and there's a long way to go on this, but it's an interesting, balancing act. On the one hand, Mr. Tripp tells a compelling story and I feel for him. And on the other, it's a property rights issue. People who own property, and maybe they bought property, the bamboo was already there through no fault of their own, and putting some sort of, sword police power over them. My gut feeling is that, it's almost like a common law issue that property owners have a duty to act reasonably, and if their property goes on somebody else's property and causes damage or on the town's property, they could potentially be liable for that damage with or without the statute. So it's just, there are factors here to be considered when you start, passing laws telling people what they're allowed to do on their property. But I understand the pros to it too. So
and
talk about it.
And that's why it's brought up as discussion now, so that it could be fully vetted and you could sleep on it and think about it. But you would hope that people do the right thing, but when they don't, then you have to have some way to make sure that property can be protected, and this is one of the ways to do it. This is not the first. You don't use this as the this is not the penalty phase in this potential ordinance is not the first action. You try and educate people and get compliance, and if you can't, then this is what you have to do. But you also cannot have bamboo going through sanitary sewer lines. And that hasn't happened yet, but that's the potential. You can't have bamboo damaging roads because somebody planted it and they didn't take care of it. And it's also not fair to have somebody else's property damaged when you look at a cinder block wall with a bamboo shoot coming out of it. So it's
yeah, I agree that there's such severity to this plant. It's the species that is actually so dominant that it's like a weapon almost. It's just it's destroying native habitat and people's infrastructure or town infrastructure. So it's really not just something personal, a personal like or dislike. It's really very offensive. It's akin to something super damaging that you can't have your neighbor doing, like having I don't know. Is there something something very dangerous that affects other people. I don't know enough about, municipal law about something dangerous, but actually maybe akin to, let's say,
Planting poison ivy.
planting poison ivy. I was going to say shoveling snow, but that would be pretty controversial. So, but it's something where you're creating a hazard, and it doesn't stop. It keeps going. It has a life of its own, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not seasonal. It keeps going.
In reviewing this ordinance, if I understand the objective of it, it's to keep it from encroaching on your neighbor's property, not so much, if it's on your own. If you look at section 3 of the ordinance, it does have allowances, if you're keeping it on your own property and maintaining it.
I just have trouble understanding how it's possible to do that because the roots go under a fence or even under a driveway or pavement.
It's kind of like if it's your property, you can do what you want. But if you're encroaching on someone else's property, if you're encroaching on someone else's stuff, that's where we have problems. So I think as long as, hey, you do whatever you want to your property, that there is that line.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
This gives us the an enforcement mechanism if people don't follow that. And there are ways to keep bamboo on your property. It is difficult, but our former Mike Colnut from Lincoln Landscaping has assisted a couple of other municipalities in making sure that bamboo. There's some kind of a sleeve that's put into the ground to prevent bamboo from crossing into the municipal right-of-way. So there are ways to keep it on your property and to keep the roots in check. But.
And as for Japanese knotweed, it kills everything in its path too. We have so many invasive species in New Jersey, and they take over an entire landscape. It becomes a monoculture. They're that dominant, and Japanese knotweed is one of those. Okay. We can hear more about the details of Japanese knotweed from someone. I guess that's what we need.
Okay.
Okay.
I assume it's not legal to have a domesticated panda in Township?
That's what I just said.
I would hope that it would be okay so long as you have enough room, and then maybe a moose also. That would be good too.
Okay, so I'm in support of discussing this, putting this on the agenda as an ordinance in September.
Yes.
Is everybody on board for that?
The Township Committee can't get back.
Yeah, I want to read this ordinance, but I'm fine with starting the process of that.
Yeah, I find the chronic destructive nature of it a little concerning.
Yeah.
Mr. Tripp, I guess he left, explained it well in terms of having to deal with this. It's one thing to have to deal with the plantings that you want to deal with every year, but then to have to deal with somebody else's invasive species is concerning.
If any committee members have any comments on the draft as it is, if you want to get them to myself and Mr. Hoffman, we can make the updates for subsequent meetings.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us into our second hearing of citizens. The same rules apply that I mentioned earlier. So let's open the hearing of citizens. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay.
Well, there's no hand raised.
Okay. I'm giving them a second to collect their thoughts. Okay. Seeing no one, we will close the second hearing of citizens. So that takes us, we need to go back into our executive session again that we started earlier to finish some business. Ms. LaConte, can you read the resolution, please?
Yes, this will be Resolution 2021-P-17, Resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded, whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. 2, the general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Litigation, Township of Chatham versus Cronus Holdings LLC and SL Chatham 2 LLC, condemnation action, docket number MRS-L-789-21. Litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15. Personnel, police, and personnel, public works. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13. The committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately. And as far as I know, I don't believe we anticipate any action to be taken after the executive session.
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? A second, and then Celeste is a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Felice?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Abbott?
Yes.
And Mayor Ewald?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So this portion of the public hearing is adjourned. We will resume after the executive session, but we don't anticipate taking any action.